Hi, this is Drew Andrews with Niner Times, and I'm your anchor for this week. This week we have Student Voice, Slut Walk, and coverage on Hurricane Dorian. First we have the Student Voice, where DJ, our reporter for that video, asked a couple of freshmen how their week was going, how they're liking UNC Charlotte, and if they're getting involved or anything.
Hello, it's DJ with Student Niner Times. We're here with Maram to ask a few questions. So Maram, you're a freshman, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So being here for the first 2 or 3 weeks, how do you feel about being on campus?
Well, it's not that. I think the worst part is just walking from here to classes because it's pretty long, 15-minute hike. But other than that, it's pretty good. Nothing's too difficult yet.
It's been pretty good, yeah. Living up in Witherspoon, go to the Union every day, going to Belk Gym, and spending a lot of time in the library. It's been good, yeah.
I'm liking it so far. It's pretty easy to get around. Bus system's pretty good. I like it.
So have you gotten involved with anything or seen anything you were interested in getting involved with on campus?
Honestly, not really yet. I went to Gold Rush, but I'm off campus, so it's a little bit hard to find those things.
I'm going to the Global Medical Brigade, the American Medical School Association, and fencing. Fencing club's really fun.
Not yet, but I have friends that I know from different clubs that I might be willing to join.
Any advice you would give yourself 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, probably try and get everything moved in on the first day. It's been kind of back and forth.
I would say don't overthink it, don't stress it, and don't come with high expectations, because it's pretty great, because I didn't come in with high expectations, but I did stress a lot.
Okay.
It was not needed.
I would say just be more open-minded or just open to change, just embrace the process, I guess.
Since you're not a freshman, we just wanted to get you to have some advice that you would give freshmen coming in.
I'd say I'd probably talk to people in your class, especially like making the connections with people early is good.
Next, our editor María followed Sets Week, UNC Charlotte, where Sets Week organized a slut walk around campus. The march consisted of students protesting against rape culture and the rising crisis of sexual assault.
Sex Week, Please, and Gen X organized a Slut Walk protest from Farwell to the outside of the student union. Alyssa Miller, the Sex Week speaker coordinator, explained to the Niner Times what the organization has prepared for Red Zone 2019.
It's the kickoff to our Red Zone programming. Red Zone is the first 6 weeks of the semester. During that time period, freshman women are most likely to experience sexual assault and sexual violence, and they also are most likely to not know where to go. A lot of those students are freshmen. They might not be aware of the resources that are available to them. So to kick that off for us, we do a series of programming called Red Zone. That means we're meeting every September Friday at noon and hosting a different event talking about sexual violence and resources on campus.
The students raise their voice and express their feelings against sexual assault.
The Slut Walk is a transnational movement that's really protesting rape culture. It's protesting the idea that because of what you were wearing, you deserve sexual violence, or that maybe you deserve to be harassed. And we're saying, no, that is not the case. You can wear whatever you want to wear, and it doesn't matter. You don't ever deserve something to happen to you. Unless you say yes and are excited and giving enthusiastic consent, it's not consent.
Before the march began, Dr. Lewis spoke in front of the participants about how there should be more rape culture awareness and action against it.
Why does so much language focus on those who are victimized and what they could or should do different, what they had on, what they were wearing, where they were? What are we doing to end rape culture? Something that didn't circulate widely and that you might not even find a lot of information on when you look, because they say now more students are reporting, and that means we are in a culture where they're reporting. But nowhere still do I see where the culture is being changed.
For all of us in the Niner Times, I'm María Solano.
Lastly, we have our reporter Angélique covering UNC Charlotte's own weather team about Hurricane Dorian.
Hey Niner Nation, I am Angélique Butler from Niner Times, and today we're here to present to you a video about hurricane information in general and what's been going on with Hurricane Dorian. So today I am here with Austin from the Meteorology Department, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Hurricane Dorian and the effects it might have on the North Carolina and South Carolina coast.
So we're still at a Category 2 storm, so still a really strong hurricane, as you can see behind me, moving very close to Charleston and also towards the Georgetown area. And because it's still a hurricane and it's also a large hurricane, this is going to move a lot of water towards the shore. So we're going to see some storm surge and coastal flooding, and also we're going to see up to a foot of rain in some areas with the storm as well. So we're going to have the flooding inland, and we're going to have flooding at the coast as well as hurricane force wind gusts.
So now that we've heard a little bit about Hurricane Dorian and its effects on North Carolina and South Carolina, can you tell us a little bit about what this department does at UNC Charlotte?
So basically, like the end product of what this department is about is how to successfully communicate weather to the public, right? So if a hurricane's coming, a tornado's coming, a storm is coming, how do we communicate that? And so a lot of that is how you create a forecast. And we do a couple of things here. We have classes where we learn how to look at current surface observations, current computer models, current ensembles, which are just basically multiple runs of the same model or slightly different models. And we learn how to compile all that into a forecast, not only with what we're given in terms of model data, but also from what we have learned in classes as well.
Thank you for answering that last question. I have a question about the effects that the Bahamas might have went through, right, and as well as the Carolinas, because we know that Dorian did just stop. So can you please talk about what might have happened and what the Carolinas can expect to happen?
So as this storm was moving over the Bahamas, it was already Category 5, but it actually rapidly intensified before moving onshore of the Abaco Islands. So that's like the northeastern island in the Bahamas. So what we saw was this storm, one of the strongest storms we've ever had or seen in the Atlantic, stall over the Bahamas as a 185 mile per hour Cat 5. And that produces tremendous surge, rainfall, and wind, and it's also a prolonged event as well, just because the storm slowed down to a crawl. So the Bahamas saw catastrophic wind damage, surge, and rain because the storm slowed down. So, I mean, it was a Category 5 over the Bahamas for about 24 to 36 hours. And if you've seen the videos or images coming out of the Bahamas, it is truly shock and awe what happened down there, because this storm really just demolished these guys. I really hate to say it, but there's hardly anything left down there. But what happened was, as the storm continued to move north, or started to move north once again, what we saw was a trough of low pressure move in the wake of the storm. So this helped to push the storm or give it a little bit of momentum. And it also caused the storm to weaken a little bit as well, just because it encountered wind shear, upwelling, which is basically water coming from below the surface, because the hurricane is a huge windstorm, right? So it's disturbing the surface of the water. So if you remove the top layer of water and you allow colder water to mix up, the water at the surface is going to get cooler, and because hurricanes like waters of about 80 degrees to strengthen, those waters can dip into the 70s. And we also saw the shear, and we also saw some dry air intrusion as well. So that's what's weakened the storm a little bit. It did re-strengthen a little bit last night, but it doesn't change much impacts-wise along the coast, even though it got a little bit stronger last night. The intensity's kind of leveled off, so still a big surge, wind, and rain threat along the coast, but certainly nothing like what we saw in the Bahamas.
Thank you, Austin, for answering the questions about the effects of the hurricane on the islands of Grand Bahama and Abaco, and as well as the coast of North Carolina and South Carolina. So now, can you talk about the hurricane, but on the map, please?
So this is the water vapor imagery. So basically what this tells you, when I look at this tells me how much moisture is available in the atmosphere. So all these yellows and oranges are areas of dry air. The greens and blues associated with the hurricane is obviously areas of moisture, because a hurricane has clouds and precipitation with it. So as this dry air is moving in, this is actually a trough of low pressure that's actually situated now over the central U.S., and that has actually caused dry air to actually move into the Gulf of Mexico, parts of the southeast. This is eventually going to ingest itself into the circulation. It may not happen until it reaches the Outer Banks, but this thing is moving northeastward right now because of this trough, because this trough is actually steering it again, because the trough is much larger than the hurricane. So as this hurricane continues to move towards the northeast, this dry air is going to continue to wrap in right behind the storm. So the storm could become rather lopsided over the next 24 to 48 hours, but a landfall is certainly possible. especially near the Wrightsville Beach area, just because there's a little place in the coast right here that sticks out a little bit. And then another shot of landfall would definitely be the Outer Banks of North Carolina, just because they are rather exposed compared to the rest of the coast.
Thank you, Austin, for answering the questions about the hurricanes on the map and for explaining everything to us. This building is McHenry, and you can talk a little bit about what you might find in your department in this building, please.
You can find earth sciences, you can find geology, you can find basically that anything that relates to like physical geography, earth geography, things like that. Really just anything dedicated to earth and the atmosphere.
Thank you, Austin, for doing this interview on the current events of the Hurricane Dorian and just hurricanes in general, providing UNC Charlotte and everybody else the information that we need to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Niner Nation. We just had the interview with Austin, and basically he just told us everything we need to know about Hurricane Dorian and the effects it might have on the coast of North Carolina and South Carolina. Since we are in Charlotte, if you want to know any recent updates about the hurricane or just the U.S. in general, you can download the app called My Radar, and it'll tell you everything you need to know, current updates, especially about Hurricane Dorian. So make sure you guys are safe. Make sure your family is safe. If you have family in the Bahamas or the coast of North Carolina or South Carolina, make sure they're safe as well.
Make sure you guys pick up the next issue of Niner Times.